It's Tuesday. It's time for coffee and Cursey words. A little later than normal, but replay crew, we're here just like normal. No need to worry. Replay crew, love you. Timestamps will be down below. Today we're covering quick bits, then we're covering Astro World, and just a quick updates for Britney as we roll into her hearing on Friday, wherein Britney's legal team is asking for the conservatorship to be terminated. So Friday night's live stream, here's the plan for Friday night's live stream. Champagne and a celebration with the Lawnards. That's the goal for Friday. So let's all just like put it out into the universe that that's what's going to be happening. Court should be done by the time we go live here on Central Standard Time at 7 p.m. And we will be talking about all of the Britney stuff, answering questions, and just have a chill stream. If you've been following me around the internet this week, I have been over on Nick Rekieta's channel doing live commentary on the Rittenhouse trial. We will be talking a little bit about that during Quick Bits. I know a ton of you are probably watching it, so welcome to the replay. Excuse me. So I've been talking for days. There will be timestamps down below. If you follow me on social media, you'll know that my car had a tire explode. So that is why we are late today. And if you want to follow me on social media at the Emily D. Baker, we have so much to talk about. There will be a more in-depth Astro World Emily show episode. And you guys know the live streams are a little more chit-chat. The podcast episodes are facts and commentary. And so that will be up for you later today. So I have lots of water. Let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know what you're drinking. And look, everybody, the regulars know. The regulars know. Hello from Latvia. Sliced lime with grapefruit juniper tonic water. That sounds delicious. I love tonic water and fizzy water with a slice of fruit so much. We're definitely going to get to questions today. I'm going to make sure that we get to questions. And you guys are like, Emily, you keep saying that. You keep saying that, and then it doesn't happen. I'm trying. We have so much to cover. We should just get into it. So yeah, let's just. Hey there. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily D. Baker, the badass lawyer and everyone's favorite legal commentator. I'm the host of The Emily Show, and I break down the legal shit behind the news and pop culture stories we all want to talk about. I have been a licensed attorney for over 15 years, but this is not legal advice. I should warn you, I'm a big fan of the Cursey words. This channel is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not fuckery. It is so good to see so many of you. And I know, again, competing interests today. Weiler's Light Watermelon Lemonade is amazing. Hey, yes, I love this Def Leppard shirt so much. Look, I wear a lot of Law Nerds merch from lawnerdsshop.com, but today was a Def Leppard's moment, though. If you followed me on Twitter this weekend, I was very tempted to wear like a spaghetti strap shirt, but I was in this was my vibe for today. Like this was just the mood. And I'm cognizant that me making fun of a like Twitter thing doesn't necessarily translate when I show up on other people's streams, and try not to, like, I was trying not to curse on Nick's stream, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I use the cursey words. So let us just roll in or roll out to the quick bits. I have just very short ones this week because we have a lot to talk about. Well, that's not true. Carole Baskin's not going to be short, y'all. It's just not. Let's just quick bits. And for those of you that are new, you can go ahead and put a 1 in the chat. Quick bits is for Tuesday. Weekly roundup is for Friday. And it's just my way of covering the other legal stories that we're not doing a deep dive into. And we're going to start with the Rittenhouse trial and kind of my thoughts on it. So quick bits today is going to start with Rittenhouse. So I just wanted to update all of you with what's going on in that trial. We have been watching it over on Nick Rekieta's channel. He has been streaming top to bottom this trial with a large panel of attorneys. And it's been very interesting because attorneys have all different backgrounds, all different perspectives, all different levels of trial experience. I need to ask, I think Barnes probably has the most trials. I might be second with the most actual verdict jury trials in that group of commentators, because I do have quite a lot of trial experience as a former prosecutor. Now, again, I've said this across social media when I watch the Rittenhouse trial and when I watch the videos initially, this case to me always looked like self-defense. And it's hard sometimes to take the facts and the surrounding facts out of the case and just look at the case facts. And that is something that is very easy for me to do as an attorney, but is very difficult to do when you are not an attorney. And I get that because the surrounding circumstances of the Rittenhouse trial can um, persuade opinion, but it shouldn't persuade the court, if that makes sense. So today, as we were watching, the prosecution rested their case. No more evidence is coming in from the prosecution. The curfew violation was dismissed because the prosecution did not prove that it was a valid curfew order. It had to be a legal order that he was violating. So that was dismissed by the court. The prosecution simply did not prove that the curfew order was valid, and therefore a violation of an invalid order is not a violation that you can prosecute somebody for. Then the defense started their case. They were starting with their first witness. I expect the defense case will be fairly brief in light of the prosecution's case. I think that they will not call Kyle Rittenhouse to the stand. I don't think that they need to. I think that they will make a motion. They will make a motion to they will make a motion for a directed verdict at the end of the defense case. The court may or may not take that under submission depending on when that is done. And then what else do I foresee happening? I think the jury verdict will be pretty quick. I think that closing arguments will be very, very interesting. And that's the thing I'm really most anticipating and looking forward to is the closing arguments. I'm interested to see how both sides present the evidence and um, how the prosecution tries to clean up their theory of the case. But at the end of the day, I think that there's enough evidence that the jury could easily find that this is a case of self-defense. Not every homicide is a murder. And I think that this will be a justifiable homicide. I'm seeing a lot of you say that my mic is a bit low today. You know, Rakeda has been changing the audio on his stream. Let me see if I can change it. All right. Let me see. How about now? Are we too loud now? Let me know. How are we? It's much lower. Let's see. How about now? Hopefully it's not too loud, but we have been modifying audio so that we can when I was on Mercator's stream, because the court audio is so low, we didn't want to be so loud. So thank you, chat, for pointing it out. Law nerds, you guys know how much I love you. So thank you. I always open to feedback. You're like, oh, that's better. We don't want to have to turn you up, because then the clips that come in are going to be too loud. So thank you. All of you are like, good, good, good. All right. Yay. So quick bits. Rittenhouse trial should be wrapping. We're at Tuesday. I think they should probably have the case to jury by the end of the week. I'd be surprised if they didn't. I don't think that there are going to be that many defense witnesses. So that's where I'm at with that. Let's get into talking just a smidge about Cardi B and Tasha K, because we have covered it some. We have not covered it a ton, but let me swoop. Let's swoop and talk about Cardi B and Tasha K real quick. Swoop. Cardi B is Cardi B. Tasha K is a YouTube commentary channel who is being sued by Cardi B for defamation, and we've covered it. It is a really factually not super interesting case, but procedurally it's been really interesting to me. I mean, our defamation cases that we cover with YouTubers are kind of similar. It's like, you said this and you said that and you said this. So with that, this case was supposed to be getting ready for trial, and a motion to delay the trial was just granted due to a family emergency for Cardi B. Now, all of that was done under seal, so we don't know what Cardi B's family emergency was. We do know that Tasha K, in her objection to this delay of the trial, said she's posting on Instagram. What could the emergency possibly be? And I can absolutely understand that argument. It's like, how much of a family emergency do we have if you are posting on Instagram? Like everything's fine. But we do know that celebrities will often post older or back pictures to maintain their social media presence, even if things behind the scenes aren't going well. So that trial is being delayed and put over. Cardi B did win her initial motions against Tasha K. And in case you didn't see that coverage, I'm just going to pull up this Law 360 article because I didn't want to go through the entire I didn't want to go back through the entire motion that we previously covered, but I remember this when we covered it previously happening at the end of the motions. And you know, we're just gonna pull it up and cover it. The motions to dismiss, I should back up as I pull it up, and then I'm like, wait a second. Cardi B sued Tasha K. Tasha K cross-claimed Cardi B. So it's like, oh, you're suing me, I'm suing you. Fine. Tasha K's cross claims all got dismissed on the motions to dismiss, but Cardi B's actions are going to the jury. So Tasha K was asking the court to dismiss Cardi B's actions, saying, look, this isn't defamatory, this is facts. So can we just be done? And the court was like, no, there's enough that a jury can find that potentially some of these statements were defamatory. But Cardi B said she can't sue me for this. She hasn't proven it. And the court agreed. So the court dismissed Tasha K's claims against Cardi B. And that's kind of the posture that we found ourselves in. That went on in April. And in April, the court said to Tasha K's lawyers that they have been wholly unprofessional during the litigation and should try to settle the case. So the court is not pleased with the way this case has been played out based on reports and based on the court records. He told the parties to get ready for trial in the fall, and now that has been put over and is going to start in January. It was supposed to start this month. So that is where we are. So the email Monday night, Cardi B's attorney said the defendant's motion was entirely meritless, was denied by the court within an hour of filing without need for a response by plaintiff, and lacks a baseline level of professionalism. We will have to pull up some of those motions because the court is clapping back with regard to some of what Tasha K's lawyers are doing. And it might be nice to just take a deeper dive into that case. But Tasha K was arguing in this latest motion that the court should just dismiss essentially for Cardi B's failure to bring the case forward as a plaintiff. And you don't have the same right to trial that or speedy trial that you do in a criminal case. So it just hasn't gone as quickly. But it hasn't gone slow for a civil case. You know, this is not taking ages and ages. This case wasn't filed all that long ago. It was filed March 21st, 2019. So we're not even 2 years into it yet. And we're looking at them getting into trial. And we've been in the middle of, a panini. So trials hadn't been going on. So this is moving pretty quickly. And I appreciate that. So the motion here, they've got it here. Should we just chat? Should we peek at a little bit of it? All right, the mods are like, no, we're never going to get to all our topics if we peek at just a little bit of it. Just a peek. Let me see if there's anything staggering or trillery in this. Also, can we indent these? Like just a tab. The declaration, which was executed under penalty of perjury, confirmed that the plaintiff was fully aware that the trial in the case at bar was scheduled to begin on November 9th. The attorney cited a declaration who concluded that because This is Cardi B, gave birth to her son on September 4th. It would be highly inadvisable for her to undertake extensive travel or be subject to the stress of a lengthy trial. I mean, that's not unlikely. And it's not unusual that if somebody is pregnant or a witness is pregnant or a defendant or a plaintiff is pregnant, that things do get put over. So I'm not surprised by that. In a memorandum in support of the application for more time filed September 13th, the attorney said counsel in the Atlantic case are presently making a determination about approaching the judge in that case to seek a continuance on the same basis as the one sought here. On October 6th, plaintiff's counsel in the California case, because there is another pending case, filed a motion for sanctions against Cardi B for bad faith conduct, explaining that Cardi B provided false and misleading testimony under penalty of perjury in her September 13th, 2021 declaration. Ugh. Are we going to have to pull the California case too? Yes. Yes, we are. We're going to have to pull the California case too to go through this because now I'm really curious. I'm like, I want to know. On November 3rd, 2021, Tasha K was at counsel's office for approximately 8 hours preparing for trial. Meanwhile, plaintiff was on a flight from New York to LA that same day. This is the problem with posting on social media. So far, I'm not like floored by this motion. These are just pointing out things that happened. It's like, we were prepping in trial. You can't be in trial. You can't travel, but you're also going back and forth to LA. Like, that's a fair argument. We saw it on Twitter. We saw it on Instagram. This is why being on social media when you're in a trial is just never going to go well at all. All right. On November 4th, plaintiff's counsel filed a motion to bring electronic equipment into the courtroom. The same day, Tasha K was at undersigned counsel's office for another full day of trial prep. Well, sorry, my throat. While plaintiff attended a British Vogue cocktail party in Beverly Hills, California. They are definitely painting a picture that they don't believe Cardi B is taking this seriously. That's what they're going for here. Look, she doesn't give a fuck. She's the plaintiff. She brought the lawsuit. We have to defend it. Come on now. I'm not, I don't know. I understand the argument. I would be annoyed too if I was defendant paying my attorneys to prep for trial and then had to do it again. And Cardi B's out at parties, like partying like Cardi, like she has no care. I get it. I get it. I get it. On November 5th, Tasha K was at undersigned counsel's office for yet another full day of trial prep. Plaintiff's counsel did not reach out to undersigned counsel regarding any potential issues or conflict. So now they're at November 5th for a trial that's supposed to start November 9th, and they don't know there's an issue. They are prepping. They're in full prep mode, which is billable hours. And it's exhausting prepping for trial. That's a lot. Like, getting ready for trial is a lot of energy, effort, and work. Let's see. Again, undersigned counsel received absolutely no communications from plaintiffs. On Sunday, November 7th, as undersigned counsel was continuing with trial prep, counsel sent an email at 5:54 p.m. notifying all parties that the court wanted to conduct a phone conference on November 8th at 1:30 p.m. Undersigned counsel sent Miss Lundy a confirmation email and went back to trial prep. Without so much as a courtesy email from opposing counsel, I mean, I wonder what's going on that there wasn't an email saying, hey, we're putting this over. Undersigned counsel were served with a 2-sentence motion to continue. We're continuing. Which was filed. That would heckle me too. Which was filed by plaintiff's counsel at 5:56 p.m. on Sunday, November 7th. That's normally too close in time to trial for the court to be chill with it. Plaintiff's counsel alleged a family emergency without providing any details. Well, it seems that anything leading up to November 7th might be irrelevant, but I understand Tasha K's lawyers are like painting the picture of, hey, you're not even prepping for trial. So family emergency, you weren't prepping for trial. So what do you even mean? This was scheduled to begin November 9th at 9:30, on November 7th at 8:08 p.m., which in court time, in Cardi B time, which time zone? I'm assuming Central Standard Time, not Pacific Standard Time, because this is a Georgia case. So that's what I'm going with. Plaintiff posted a picture of her daughter on her Twitter account, no family emergency in sight. But if she filed something under seal, what a celebrity posts on Twitter could be different from what's going on? Undersigned counsel spent several hours on the internet looking for reports or information regarding plaintiff's alleged family emergency. Why didn't you just ask the lawyers? And did not come across any corroborating information. Plaintiff shared a couple more posts on Instagram, but then disappeared before undersigned counsel could preserve them. Okay. None of the deleted posts mention anything about a family emergency, which is not necessarily controlling. And Ash, you guys are saying Georgia's in EST, not CST. I always forget that because it feels like from Tennessee, it's just south, but it's also in Eastern time. I forget. So, yes, EST. Thank you all for the reminder. Time zones are hard. So then they argue that the continuance shouldn't be granted, and it was. I'm not particularly put off by this motion. I mean, I was really like, they make fair points, but if something was filed under seal and the council knows what the family emergency is and then is making these arguments, my opinion would absolutely change. So, Mr. Unicorn also points out the very relevant fact that celebrity social media posts are often scheduled and doesn't feel like a good argument. I get that. It's like, well, this is not necessarily a snapshot of what's going on at the exact moment if they're just pictures and not like a live like a live stream or something. And even then, when live streams are live, but uploads can be old. So that's what's going on. The Tasha K case was supposed to be in trial right now as well. And I was very interested to see how that defamation case would go. And as it gears up for trial again in January, I will cover it more thoroughly because it's going to be one of the first kind of YouTuber defamation cases to go to a jury trial. And I'm fascinated, but there are a lot of things to catch up on because there have been a lot of motions. So next thing we're going to talk about is Carole Baskin and Netflix. We talked about this last week. This case is moving very quickly. Netflix is like, "Oh, the fuck no." And their response has some gems in it. So we're going to go through their response real quick. And then we're going to get into Astroworld and some of the Britney updates before court. So let's do that. Carole Baskin. Carole motherfucking Baskin. We curse here. It's cool. The road so far on this case is really, really brief. Carole Baskin sued Netflix and Royal Good Productions to try to stop the premiere of Tiger King 2. I'm waiting for Tiger King 2. Let me know if y'all are. Just pop a 1 in the chat if y'all are waiting for Tiger King 2. I am waiting for Tiger King 2, friends. I am here for it. But Carole Baskin filed a motion that I suspect that she wrote. My speculation, but it was like a resume of Carole Baskin. She also attached like a 2-hour video of harassment that she received because of Tiger King. And while the harassment is bullshit, and I don't understand watching someone on TV or the internet and going like, "Oh, I should threaten that person's life." That seems like a reasonable thing to do. People calling her, I think it was her work number, and leaving her death threats and leaving her all these messages. That doesn't make any sense to me. But the lawsuit was written in just, I don't know. It was written like the KJ motion to dismiss, where it feels like the client wrote the first half and Carole Baskin had everything in there but a murderous conspiracy, which was very disappointing to me because there actually was a murderous conspiracy because Joe Exotic was convicted of hiring someone to kill Carole Baskin. But it looks like that conviction is in jeopardy, and we will cover that another day because it seems like the witnesses admitted that they lied. So that's going to be a problem with that. It's going to be a problem. But let's see what Netflix had to say, because Netflix is like, "Oh, the fuck you didn't." They are procedurally, Carole Baskin filed a lawsuit. What she is really seeking is that Tiger King 2 does not get released on November 17th. That is the goal. stop it from getting released. Her argument is that they are using footage of her that was taken for the purpose of Tiger King 1, and she did not ever sign a release for Tiger King 2. They don't have a likeness release, and the release that she signed from Tiger King 1 does not cover sequels or subsequent acts, so they can't just go ahead and use the footage. So that is what they are arguing. And they're trying to seek a preliminary injunction. That hearing is set for early next week. So once we get past the Britney hearing on Friday and then get past the celebrating from the Britney hearing, I am going to be very interested to see what happens at this hearing on Monday next week. Unless, of course, I'm over on Mercatus stream watching closing arguments, because the day closing arguments go down in the Rittenhouse trial, I will probably watch them all. I'm very interested to see them. So, let's pull up Netflix's response. This was filed. What's today? Is today the 9th? This was filed yesterday. I've got to just, before we get into it, people who hit this timestamp are going to be like, Emily, seriously, we hit the timestamp. It's like, no, we did a road so far. When I first shifted my focus into more pop culture and then a few very interesting news stories that had a legal spin versus mostly news and a little pop culture, my husband was like, but won't you run out of things in the pop culture sphere? And as I was telling him about this case, he's like, there's always going to be something. I'm like, there is always going to be something. And I right now can't even keep up. There's a bunch going on in other cases that we're covering. And I'm like, I can't. There is too much. There is too much right now. It is very busy. All right. Let's look at the shade in the Netflix response. This is the response to the motion for preliminary injunction, the motion for a temporary restraining order, which has different regulations and different ability to respond. The court already denied it. The court was like, we're not doing that. So what we are going to do is hear this preliminary injunction, which is very much like what happened in the Haley. Oh, not Haley, the wedding dress designer. Why is my brain stopping? Anyway, the wedding dress designer case, a preliminary injunction was issued in that case pretty early on. And we also did a preliminary injunction and coverage of that in the Nike Satan Shoes case. Haley Page. That's how the ADHD brain works. For those of you that are new, I do not joke about having ADHD. I actually do have ADHD. And so when I mention my ADHD brain, it is that is how my brain works. And I'm just sharing with you because a lot of you have the same experience. And we're just going to normalize having like boobs and a brain and ADHD and dyslexia and still being a lawyer and having purple hair and all the things. We're just going to let people live their best life. All right. Back to Netflix's attorneys filing a motion that had both adequate arguments and shade. I love that combo. You know that this is my favorite combo. Like smart sass is my favorite. Plaintiff's motion to prohibit defendants from using unspecified footage of them in the upcoming documentary series titled Tiger King 2 strikes at the heart of the First Amendment. Plaintiffs invite this court to enter an unconstitutional prior restraint on speech if threats to the national security of the United States, criminal violations of federal and state statutes, invasion of privacy, breaches of confidentiality, and calculated misdeeds are not enough to warrant prior restraints, and an allegation about a possible breach of a contract surely cannot suffice. Notwithstanding the constitutional obstacle, plaintiffs do not satisfy any of the elements necessary to obtain the extraordinary relief they seek. The motion should be denied. Prior restraints on speech. This is like trying to sue someone for defamation because you think they're going to say a thing, but you don't know what they're going to say. You have to wait until they do the thing before you can sue them over the thing. You can't stop an article from coming out or a book from coming out. It's a prior restraint on speech. If it harms you, then you can sue for defamation. Then you can sue for breach of contract. Then you can sue for the remedy. But the breach hasn't happened yet because they haven't aired the footage yet. Does that make sense? You can't. This is literally trying to sue over the shit that's out of the horse before the horse takes the dump. You can't do that. You have to wait till the harm occurs. What Carole Baskin is arguing with the preliminary injunction is, but if the harm occurs there is no remedy for the harm because I will be so besmirched. I will be so damaged. My reputation will be so damaged that there's no recovering from it. My argument to that would be, well, is it going to get worse than Tiger King 1? I don't think so. I just don't. I don't think it's going to get worse than that. So if it's not going to get worse than Tiger King 1, then the preliminary injunction really needn't be worried about. And if they breach the contract, sue them for the profits from Tiger King 2. And we go. And that's it. That's how that works. If you're harmed, sue after you're harmed and show the damages. But I think she would have a hard time showing damages on the breach of contract because like the reputational damage is already done. It's not going to get worse. I guess her argument will be, well, if it's a wider argument, if there's more, if it's more prominent, or if it's seen by a wider audience, then maybe. So that's kind of the back and forth in my brain on this case. Background. In 2014, RGP, and that's the Royal Good Productions, contacted Carole to gauge her interest in participating in a docuseries on wildlife trade. See the declaration of Jeremy McBride that's attached. From 2014 to 2019, a long span of time, RGP filmed plaintiffs in connection with the docuseries. In the complaint, I like that there's receipts on this, by the way. Yay. In the complaint and their sworn declarations, plaintiffs claim to have signed only 2 appearance releases on April 30th, 2016 and April 3rd, 2018, the pre-2019 releases. Contrary to those representations, plaintiffs executed a total of 9 appearance releases and 2 location releases. So that's Carole and her husband, her now husband, not her late husband. Carole and her now husband signed between the two of them 9 appearance releases and 2 location releases. Look, as the plaintiff, for me, it's not a good look if you say I only signed these in 2016, but you know that there are releases up till 2019. I don't think the 2019 release is as good for Netflix as they say it is, but that's lawsuits. Lawsuits are allegations and shade. The facts are skewed in the light most favorable to the party filing the thing. So if the defense is filing the thing, it's skewed in the light most favorable to them. If the plaintiff is filing the thing, it's skewed in the light most favorable to them. That's how civil litigation works. That is the lawyer's duty, to be a zealous advocate for their client. So but it doesn't look good. I think she could have addressed the 2019 agreements and addressed them head on. But this makes it seem like she's hiding something from the court, which if I was the judge, I'd be fucking annoyed by. I'd be like, what do you mean you're telling me there's only 2 appearance releases and there's 9? Really? I would be annoyed. I would. They go on to say the appearance releases and location agreements signed in 2019, collectively the 2019 agreements, supersede the pre-2019 releases. Agreed. Keep this in mind because it matters. And explicitly permit defendants to use the footage in later projects. I disagree. But, Royal Good Productions eventually used the footage in a docuseries exploring the subculture of people who collect and breed big cats. That's exactly what it did. And it is a wild subculture. It is a peek into an underbelly of the big cat trade that I didn't need, because there was murderous conspiracies. It was so much. It was so much. I think there was human trafficking involved. Like, it was so much. Tiger King. It was a lot. Netflix released the 7-part docuseries titled Tiger King on March 20, 2020, at the beginning of all of us being locked in our homes and having nothing else to do. And we were like, oh, what is this? Oh, God, that's a lot. Although it featured several notable characters and subplots, but Tiger King 1 centered on Joe Maldonado Passage, aka Joe Exotic's antagonistic relationship with Carole, including Carole's criticisms of Joe's animal care and Joe's claims about the disappearance of Carole's ex-husband, Don Lewis. Yeah, he claimed that she ground him up and fed him to the tigers. That's what he claimed. She's not thrilled about those claims. She made it known in her lawsuit. She denies those allegations, but it was a lot of the back and forth between them because Joe was horrible in talking about Carole. But also, if you're not Carole, some of it was funny. Because he just seemed like this really pissed off, unhinged guy. Then it got really dark with the murder for hire plot. But at the beginning, it was like this guy just wandering around going, Carole fucking Baskin. And Carole shutting down all of his things that he was trying to do and calling him out too. And her being more popular on social media than he was, which is what I think really stuck in his ass about it. I think it was that Carole had a larger social media following than he did. I really think that is what stuck with him the most. So, oh, Joe Maldonado. The 7th episode concludes with Joe's 22-year conviction for violating the Endangered Species Act and his murder for hire plot aimed at Carole. Tiger King 1 was an instant hit with 64 million households watching the docuseries within the first month. The only thing bigger than that on Netflix, I think, has been Squid Game, which again had this kind of viralosity to it. And it was the same thing with Tiger King. It became an instant, when it's a Halloween costume, that is where we're starting to, it's like, it's viral when that's what everybody does for Halloween. Tiger King definitely hit that. And so did Squid Game. Keeping on. I can't wait to see, by the way, Mr. Beast why is recreate hard to say? Recreate Squid Game. He's in the middle of building a set. He keeps sharing that on Twitter. I'm fascinated to see what he does with that. So I'm sure without the actual shooting people, maybe paintballs. You could get a release for paintballs. The docuseries was nominated last year for 6 Primetime Emmy Awards. Really? Outstanding documentary or nonfiction series. It was fascinating. It made good TV, people. Tiger King 1's popularity spawned competing content, such as a limited series by CBS and a documentary by Investigation Discovery that focus on the more salacious details behind Carol's ex-husband's disappearance. That I didn't know. I will hit both of these links. I want to know. I'm just not going to do it right now. CBS's 48-Hour Suspicion, The Tiger King Mystery, uncovers shocking new details in the disappearance of Carole Baskin's former husband, Don Lewis. It should be late husband, Don Lewis. Maybe they didn't say late because they're still not sure that he's gone. His family says that he is. And then the other one, Tiger Tales. Why does that sound like a play on DuckTales? DuckTales. Okay, anyway. Tiger Tales of Missing and Murder. No. That's a terrible. What is that name? No. Tiger Tales of Missing and Murder. Investigation Discovery unleashes 2 new specials featuring exclusive new jailhouse interviews with Joe Exotic. I will literally watch both of those things. I'll put the links in the description of this video so that you all can go check them out as well. The popularity generated by Tiger King 1 continues to this day. Plaintiffs have agreed to produce and star. This I didn't know. To produce and star in a Discovery Plus docuseries scheduled to be released on November 13th, just days before Tiger King 2. Whoop, there it is. Carole Baskin is producing a competing series on Discovery Plus. I wonder why it would be good for her as a producer that will benefit from the popularity of the things she's creating to shut down or delay Netflix putting out Tiger King 2. I mean, come on, Carole. You just want it to be delayed so that yours is the only one that's coming out, in my opinion. Sorry to all of you that now have DuckTales stuck in your head. I could go back to, whoop, there it is. Tag team, back again. Check it, direct it. Let's begin. Party on, party people. Let me hear some noise. DC's in the house. Jump, jump, rejoice. Party over here. Party over there. Wave your hands in the air. Shake your derriere. These 3 words when you're getting busy. Whoop, there it is. Hit me. Whoop, there it is. Is that better? Is that better? DuckTales is gone. Whoop, there it is can now be stuck in your head. All right. That was shocking to me that I was like, oh, she's producing and starring in a Discovery Plus docuseries. Huh. Weird. Because if this is granted, it will delay Netflix producing this series. And they tell us later in this filing that at a part in the that I don't know if we'll get to. They tell us later in this filing that it would delay them at least 4 months to edit out the scenes of Carole Baskin and slate this to be re-released. So, if it's delayed um by 4 months, how much benefit does that inure towards Carole Baskin and her Discovery Plus series because it's coming out and because Tiger King is already on people's minds. We're already talking about it. We're already like, "Ooh, Tiger King 2 is coming out. Ooh, let's jump back into this. Ooh, what's happening?" So now there's already buzz around it. And if Discovery Plus releases theirs early, I'm sure it will get a bump off the fact that Tiger King 2 is coming out. But if Tiger King 2 doesn't come out, then all the audience will be left with is the Discovery Plus series. I love that they posted that this was I love that they posted. No, it's not Twitter, Emily. It's a lawsuit. I mean, same sometimes. Same sometimes. I love that they added this in here to give context of motive. So, as a result of Tiger King 1, Carole became a pop culture phenomenon. Facts. By her own account, 186 media outlets contacted her after the release of Tiger King 1. Carole embraced the publicity. Shortly after the docuseries release, she engaged DMA United, a major public relations agency, to handle her business inquiries and promote her affiliation with Tiger King 1. Carole participated in numerous press interviews and even competed on ABC's reality show Dancing with the Stars. And on Dancing with the Stars, leaned in to the tigeriness of it all. Go look for the gifs of her being like, "Hey, all you cool cats and kittens," embraced it all. I don't disagree with Netflix on this point. Carole directly attempted to monetize her fame by using an app called Cameo. I love the shade of this because just facts, but also shade, but facts. So let's talk about Cameo. Mr. Unicorn said 186 media outlets, but who's keeping track really? Carole fucking Baskin's keeping track. She's like, people, Us Weekly, this, that. She's like, I broke the story, bitches. Let's go. All right, Cameo, which allows users to hire celebrities to create short, personalized video messages. Carole, whose profile identifies her as Netflix Tiger King star, became one of the most requested celebrities on Cameo in the last year. Right? I can see people doing this for bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, birthdays. I can see why this would be popular. Like can see I can see people using this app to troll her, and I can see people using this app to troll their friends and be like, "Can you please Cameo my friend saying, 'Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.'" But let's not hate on Carole. Like, I'm not going to hate the player in this. Most requested celebrities on Cameo last year, collecting $28,000 in a single day on the service. What? You guys. You guys. $28,000 in a day. The footnote is Kevin Webb and Reese Rogers. Cameo lets you hire celebrities like Lindsay Lohan, Caitlyn Jenner, to create personalized videos that make memorable gifts. Business Insider. Tiger King star Carole Baskin makes $28 in a single day on Cameo. Y'all, look. That's a lot of money that can go into her not-for-profit. And if she's filming them at her nonprofit, is it going into the nonprofit or is she using the nonprofit to profit? I wonder. Just asking questions. I have questions. Carole also began selling face masks with "Hey, all you cool cats and kittens" catchphrase Tiger King 1 made popular. I mean, to be fair, that's how she's been doing it on social media for a while, but still. And launched her own digital currency, Cat. She has fucking Carole Baskin crypto. Y'all. Look. Don't hate the player. I don't. I have nothing but get it. But she has crypto. It just feels like she wants to be a Paul brother. Are we going to see Carole Baskin boxing? Like, I feel like she's taken the Paul brother business models and was like, okay, Cameo, crypto, buy my merch, catchphrase goes here. She has a cat coin. I kind of live for that though. And I live that it came up in this context because they're trying to throw shade of how much she's made out of it. But Carole Baskin after Tiger King, my phone rang every 2 minutes for months. Don't have your phone number available on your website then. So though plaintiffs have voiced their displeasure with the portrayal on the hey, Dr. B. There's no sneaking in. You can come say hi. We're talking about Carole Baskin. Did you know she had her own cryptocurrency? What did you just say?
Maybe I just didn't hear you because you said it so quickly.
I said, did you know Carole Baskin has her own cryptocurrency? And Dr. B said, who?
And I'll say it again, who?
Carole fucking Baskin.
When you say Carole fucking Baskin, I know who you mean.
From Tiger King. She has her own Doge. We'll talk about it later. Say hi to the chat. Hi, chat.
Hey, chat.
For those of you that are new to the chat, that's my husband, Dr. B. All right.
Yes.
He was trying to sneak in and give me back my cell phone, and I called him out for it.
Apparently knows all things.
I was explaining how we will never run out of content. We watched, you kept falling asleep during Tiger King early pandemic. You just couldn't, it was too dark for you. You were like, this isn't entertaining. This is a shit show. And I was like, right, that's why it's entertaining. I think Dr. B has a defense mechanism. He just shuts down.
What TV show don't I fall asleep in?
That's fair. Yeah. It's same with Housewives. He's like, I don't want to hear women get drunk and scream at each other. He's like, that's not fun for me. I'm like, really? I enjoy it quite a lot. Bye, B. He said bye to the law nerds. He has no idea who Carole fucking Baskin is and doesn't care. But now he's going to get to watch Tiger King with me before the sequel comes up. He's going to be thrilled. So Carole Baskin has fucking crypto. All right. Though plaintiffs have voiced their displeasure with their portrayal on the docuseries, I mean, look, when you go on a docuseries, that is going to happen sometimes. Housewives complain about this all the time. Housewives are just like, I didn't like the editing this season. I didn't like how I was portrayed. But at the same time, when you say things, they go on the internet, even if those things are out of context, and then you have to deal with it and deal with it. That's part of signing up for a show that that can happen. So Carole has likewise publicly discussed the positive effects of Tiger King 1. In addition to financially benefiting Carole, clearly, the docuseries also exploded the big cat debate, leading to the reform in the industry and the indictment of wildlife traffickers. As Carole admits, if Tiger King 1 had focused solely on the animal abuse, she doesn't know if people would have watched. They wouldn't. Shared it the way that they did, but at least this opened the door to the big cat debate. And legislation was actually passed because of this. But no, people wouldn't have watched nearly as much because it wouldn't have that sizzle of the murderous conspiracy that it had. So they go on to say that 5 weeks after the public release of the teaser trailer, plaintiffs sued. So they waited till like the last moment is what the allegation is here to sue before its release. Plaintiffs allege that the pre-2019 releases do not permit defendants to reuse the footage in a sequel. And then they ask the court to block it. They argue that they are allowed to use it. They go in the declarations to say that it will take them 4 months to recut the show if it needs to be cut out. And then they share the 2019 release. Here's the thing. I don't think the 2019 release is clear as all that. I don't think they will get a preliminary injunction. I think she'll have to sue for damages from it being released. But I also don't think the release is as clear as they argue it to be. And I'm going to show it to you and tell you why. So let's see. Here we've gotten to the releases. And then we're going to move on to Astroworld. All right. This is appearance release 2014. This is appearance. Oh, hold on. Some of these have addresses and some of them don't. So I'm going to try to make sure that the ones that do have addresses don't get pulled up. Even though these are court records, I don't know if she's using the address of her sanctuary or not. I didn't Google it. So I just want to make sure I can cut those off screen. Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm mindful of that. Again, even though they're court documents, let's look at, whose is this? This is the 2018 release. Okay, we're going to do 2018, then 2019, and then we're moving on. This appearance release says expressly that I hereby represent and warrant that I have the right to grant the rights hereunder. I expressly release producer, its agents, employees, licensees, and assigns from any and all claims. Where is it? Oh, it's up here. Sorry, wrong paragraph. I agree to cooperate with producer in the making of the picture. I hereby grant the producer the right to 1, record me, including without limitation my appearance, image, and voice by still photography, motion pictures, videotape photography, audio tape, and all other means of recording technology, the results of which shall be deemed the recordings. 2, edit the recordings in producer's sole discretion. Yeah, you don't get editorial rights over this. And 3, use the recordings along with my name, photographs, likenesses, voice, and biographical material in connection with the picture and all ancillary and subsidiary uses thereof, and all advertising and publicity therefore, and to exploit the picture in any and all manner. So the ancillary and subsidiary language here is what is really being focused on. However, the ancillary and subsidiary language in the 2018, that was signed April 3rd, 2018. There's another one from September 17th, 2018 that has the same language in it. But then the one from 2019 is different. So let me show you the one from 2018 and you'll see the visual difference. This is the one from 2018. We've got the 4 paragraphs spaced out here and then signed by Carole Baskin down at the bottom, and then the Royal Good Representative from September 17th, 2018. But then when we get to this 2019 release, it doesn't have the same amount of paragraphs. And Netflix argued that the 2019 release is controlling, but the 2019 release does not say ancillary and subsidiary projects in the language of this document. So if this document is the one that is controlling, then this document is silent as to that, and this could be vague. And this could cause the court to have to litigate the issue of whether there are actually rights here to use it in the sequel. But the remedy is not going to be to stop Tiger King from coming out. The remedy is going to be to give Carole a portion of the proceeds for using her likeness without the releases. This is what's being argued in the Terrence Howard case that we brought up, that has a little bit to do with a production company run by the Triller guy, Ryan Kavanaugh. So Terrence Howard is arguing that that film was released by that production company without an appearance release for him. So it's a whole little world of, we've got Ryan Kavanaugh in there, and then Terrence Howard is represented by Saltsy. So it's a small world after all. So let's look at this. Carole Baskin grants to Royal Good Productions the right in producer's sole discretion perpetually and throughout the universe to use and license others to use grantor's name. That means Netflix, essentially. They can license the footage to someone else to distribute, produce, etc. Voice, actions, activities, likeness, photographic, illustrated, all the manners of capturing you in and in connection with the production. Not a production, not the productions, the production, exploitation and or distribution of the documentary motion picture currently entitled Big Cats, with the right to edit, distribute, and exhibit. So that is in connection to a picture. So I think that this is vague, and I don't think it's as clear as Netflix would like it to be. I don't think it's as devastating as Carole Baskin would like it to be. And I think that this is going to be in court for quite a long time, but I do not think the court's going to grant the preliminary injunction. I don't think that Carole Baskin has proven that a preliminary injunction is necessary. And I don't know what the court's going to think about the potential using this lawsuit to still a competitor franchise. What I know for sure is there's a lot of Tiger King coming out next week. And I'm going to be watching it and talking about it on social media. That's what's happening. That's the real what's the what on Tiger King. So I thought it was interesting. I thought it was very interesting to see how much Carole has made on things like Cameo and the fact that she had her own cat crypto. Fascinating to me. You guys ready to move on to Astroworld? I think you are. I am too. So I'm going to take a drink. I'm going to hit the timestamp and let us move on. Hey there. I hit the wrong button. We'll swoop it again. Swoop. It is time to move on to Astroworld. Look, this is I don't easily have words for Astroworld, but I know that there are lots of feelings with regard to Astroworld. I get it. We are not here to assign blame. We are here to evaluate potential liability and talk about what's going on now. I don't think we are done with the legal fallout. This is just the tip of the iceberg for the legal fallout with Astroworld. So, law nerds, thank you for being law nerds. Thank you for being respectful. I know I've seen on social media how people feel about Travis Scott, and we will talk about Travis Scott as a actor, not an actor. Gosh, as I've been talking about the Alec Baldwin case, it's not dissimilar. Uh, Travis Scott is a singer, and then Travis Scott as a producer of the event, because there's two different things that are going on here, and there's different liabilities attached. But because he is a producer, that is the kind of easiest route to liability, aside from him just being a singer and performer. So with that, there are now 16 lawsuits that I have in my hot little hands that I'm looking at, and it is a lot. So for those of you that haven't been following this story, I'm going to give just a brief summary. I have a episode of the Emily show coming out later today that gives more of a breakdown of the timeline of how this went wrong. Astroworld is a large festival-like concert that was held in Houston last weekend, only on Friday night because of this tragic incident. What happened is that there was crowd swelling with the 50,000 people in attendance. At this point, 8 people are deceased. Some are still in critical condition. The victims in this range, or the deceased victims in this range, from 14 years old to 23 years old. There are very young children still in critical condition in the hospital. There are hundreds that were injured, at least 17 transported to the hospital. The event had its permits done legally, it seems, from the releases from Fire, but the police chief said something that he didn't say in the press conference later. And I was like, wait, what? The police chief said that he went to Travis Scott's trailer. It seems that they know each other. Travis Scott is a Houston native, and Travis Scott did quite a lot of good for the city of Houston in the days leading up to Astroworld. School money and or donating things to school, creating things in the community. There was a lot of good that was done leading up to this event, and I think that that has been lost because of the tragedy that's ensued. And some are saying that there are updated reports on that, and I have been looking at the Rittenhouse. So if there's updated reports on that, I have not seen them yet, but we'll update on social media. Again, it is a story that is just going to continue to unfold. And I don't know if it's going to get any better. I think this story will continue to get worse. From the time of the press conference with the police chief from Houston PD to even now, when I'm going, hey, what do you mean you went to his trailer to say that you were worried about the crowd? I have concerns because well, for the civil liability, it's going to show that police had pointed out to Travis Scott that there was an issue before he even took the stage. So that is a whole lot when it goes to civil liability, because they're arguing that he owed a duty of care, the concert venue owed a duty of care, and they were negligent, and sometimes grossly negligent, in the way that they carried out this concert. So again, 16 lawsuits right now. I'm going to pull up the one filed by LawTube commentator attorney Tom. Why? Because so far of the ones I've reviewed, it's the most thorough. And that's why. So it has lots of information in it. And let me pull that up. Where is my because it's not pulled up yet, Emily. Not helpful. I thought I had pulled it up before we started, but I didn't, which, we're professionals here. It happens sometimes. Amy Yost, how many plaintiffs are needed for class action? I feel like this Astroworld mess is fast approaching that threshold. And we saw this. I mean, we've seen concerts that are deadly, not quite in this way, with the crowd swell being the problem. Of course, when I'm looking at this, we're thinking of things like Route 91 in Las Vegas, where a shooter took the lives of, and I'm going to forget, but it was dozens of people that were killed in the Route 91 incident. And there were class action lawsuits because at that point, Live Nation didn't refund people their tickets for the survivors. It's just been quite a lot of information, quite a lot of lawsuits came out of Route 91. And some of those were class action lawsuits. And Live Nation was trying to hold people to their adhesion contract about going to arbitration and what have you. We've seen other fires at clubs, but we've not quite seen something like this where the crowd surging seemed to be one of the biggest problems. And with that, with the crowd surging being one of the problems, it's going to come down to planning what the creator on stage did or didn't do to calm the crowd, what he knew, what the producers of the event knew, when the plug was pulled, when he should have stopped singing, which it seemed clear he should have, et cetera, et cetera. So let us continue pulling this up. And this, again, is the petition that has been filed by Tom Kirker, who is, and other lawyers. He's not the only one, who's here on YouTube. And Mickey said Attorney Tom is defending representing a bunch of the victims because they will be plaintiffs, not defendants. But I get what you're saying. He is asking people that were there to send in videos. Absolutely. For all the plaintiffs, it will help. And the amount of videos people can send in will help. The more information they have, the better, which is why there is this push-pull right now. I'm going to pull it up and talk about it. Also tangent. Which is why there's this push-pull right now of breaking down the venue. The venue is supposed to provide seating for sports ball. I just don't remember which sports ball, but the venue is supposed to also have parking. It's a county venue, but these lawsuits are filed so quickly to preserve evidence for reconstruction so that all of the things that plaintiffs' lawyers need to do can be done before all the barriers and barricades are taken down, before the event is cleaned up, so that they can measure things, look at things, and preserve that evidence that would be destroyed if everything was broken down. So there is a push-pull between getting access to document that location or that scene and breaking it down because the county needs the parking space for whatever, I don't know, is it the Astros? Something's going on there. It can't be the Astros. Is it the Super Bowl? The World Series over? Something. There was sports parking that they needed a lot for, and so there's a push-pull over that. For now, that's been stalled, and there were temporary restraining orders filed by, or a temporary injunction filed by, you said football. It's football. They needed football parking. Thank you. The temporary injunction filed to stop them from breaking it down to preserve the scene. So thank you, everyone. The Texans play at NRG Stadium. So thank you. That's what it is. Sports ball. We stay with generic and then we're not wrong. But they need the parking, right? So they don't want to break down. The county needs to break down the parking. The plaintiff's lawyers need to preserve the parking. So this is going to be preserved because there are also criminal investigations going on. The FBI is now involved. They are not done. It's just so sad. And in my perspective, based on the information I have today, I reserve the right to change my mind. It seems that this was preventable, and it makes me very sad. So the lawsuit is for defendant Manuel Souza. Actually, let me zoom past because these have addresses in them too. I'm going to zoom past everyone they're suing. but it is Scoremore LLC, Scoremore Management, Scoremore Holding, which is going to be one of the producers of the event. Sasha Stone Gutterverd, who's being sued as an individual in relation to one of these companies, Live Nation Worldwide, Live Nation Entertainment, Live Nation Marketing, Daryl Platt, who's an individual attached to one of these companies, ASM Global Parent Inc., ASM Global LLC, another one of the companies that was involved, Mark Miller, Keith Butler, Trey Hicks, and then Travis Scott and Cactus Jack Records, Travis Scott's business. Let me go past all of those. So it's Travis Scott, his company, and then the producers of the event. And you know what? I'm going to pull up not the court copy because the court copy is not as clear as the copy that I have from Tom, just in the attachments. They're much clearer than the scanned in version. So I'm not going to give this a hard time on formatting because this was sent to me and then I converted it to a PDF. The court copy is formatted slightly differently in the way that it's spaced. So, sometimes I will throw shade. I just wanted to tell you why I wasn't throwing shade here because this was converted to a PDF by me before it was filed. Well, no, after it was filed, but when I received it. This is not the court filed in version because the court filed in version, you can't see all the pictures. So that's why we're going over this one. They start with November 5th. A horrible yet predictable and preventable tragedy struck the Astroworld Festival at NRG Park in Houston. Defendants are the owners, operators, promoters, public relations representatives, and/or organizers of the concert and/or owners and operators of the premises. So that's all of those business entities. Look, they are not at this point suing Travis Scott's business management, which is shockingly, don't be shocked. Shock Pikachu, Lou Taylor of TriStar Entertainment. They are not yet suing TriStar, and we do not know if they will because we do not know how involved TriStar was with the production of this event. So if TriStar was involved in the production of this event, they would have probably been involved through a subsidiary company, and we don't know if Lou Taylor or TriStar is involved with any of these companies that are being sued. If that comes out in discovery, people can be added. What's interesting is they didn't plead any John and Jane Does in this, so they would have to amend it and then add that down the road. That is not hard to do. This is literally filed very quickly to preserve the most critical evidence. The ins and outs of who is responsible in the corporate structure of everything can come down the road, and it's not going to forestall them from doing that. So these are the companies being sued. These are the individuals being sued. Can things shift? Yes. Can things be added? Yes. Can different causes of action be added? Yes. Yes, it can. The court has jurisdiction. We are not going to go through jurisdiction and venue. Factual background. All right, we already started with that. Defendants individually and collectively made representations to concertgoers that, quote, safety and security are always our top priority, and that they would ensure a safe, secure, and positive environment is provided for all attendees, artists, and staff. Tragically, due to defendants' motivation for profit at the expense of concertgoers' health and safety, and due to their encouragement of violence, at least 8 people lost their lives and scores of others were injured at what was supposed to be a night of fun. They go on to talk about what happened to plaintiff, that plaintiff has serious bodily injuries when the uncontrolled crowd at the concert knocked him to the ground and trampled him. So this is a plaintiff. Most of these plaintiffs are plaintiffs that have been trampled. Some of the plaintiffs are plaintiffs suing and representing minor children as well. Plaintiff's injuries were inevitable and predictable. This goes to legal liability. That's why those words are being used. They are an inevitable and predictable result of the defendant's conscious disregard of the extreme risk of harm to concertgoers. Again, that goes to the negligence that's being alleged here, that they knew there was a harm and that they didn't give a fuck is essentially what conscious disregard is. And what is going to be very strong evidence of that is whatever they have of the chief of police telling Travis Scott, this is an issue. This is a problem. And when you have proof through a witness that we told him this, it's going to make it very hard to escape civil liability. Earlier in the day, concert goers breached a security gate around the park, stampeded into the premises, and trampled over one another. So they're going, not only is this establishing that there was already an issue, this is establishing that there was already a lack of control and they were aware. So this further establishes, I'm going to say it 3 different ways. Go for it, Emily. It just further establishes the conscious disregard and the negligence there. So you can see that fencing is toppled. This is where security, the metal detectors are. In other videos being shot from this angle, looking into the crowd, you can see that those were trampled down. These fences, we were told at the press conference, were reinforced because this happened, like literally rushing the gates happened at the previous Astroworld. So they had reinforced fencing this year and more law enforcement on property so that this wouldn't happen, and it happened again. Later, several times during the ongoing show performed by defendant Travis Scott on the evening of November 5th, emergency vehicles literally drove through the massive crowd to render aid to concert goers who had suffered serious, obvious injury. And it will come up that he did not stop and ask the crowd to back up or to make room or to allow emergency vehicles through, and that the crowd continued to surge. That will come up. So this was against a backdrop of multiple reports of tramplings, patrons losing consciousness, being unable to breathe due to profound lack of crowd control, inadequate water, inadequate security, and lack of exit routes. So many people were hurt and so few emergency personnel were provided by defendants that patrons themselves had to conduct CPR on their fellow concert goers. And anyone who's seen the video of that, if you haven't seen video of people doing CPR, it's chilling. It is not something you necessarily need to see, but there are videos of patrons in the crowd who have medical training doing CPR on one another, but they didn't seem to have adequate AEDs that you should have at large venues like this. And they didn't seem to have medical personnel that had the equipment they needed. There are social media reports that medical personnel were showing up without the temporary face masks that you use to do CPR, which you at any time you aren't going to put your mouth on a stranger's mouth and do breathing for them. But particularly, there's still, California, you can't go to a restaurant without proving that you've been fully vaccinated. And yet, security and medical personnel don't have a pocket CPR mask to put on somebody's mouth and breathe. I mean, I have one of them in the trunk of both of my cars, but husband's a doctor and I worked as an EMT briefly and did EMT training. But it's just shocking to me that they didn't have people who could do CPR because they didn't have the equipment that they needed. And that is all going to come up as this goes to trial. But let's be realistic. This isn't going to go to trial. These will settle for millions of dollars. So just my rant about the fact that on any given day, you should have those things available. But especially now, how do you not have those things available? It's just Katie says, my son is a paramedic and he always has a CPR mask on his keychain. Right. Because you can't help if you don't have the things you need to keep yourself safe while helping. And the first responders couldn't keep themselves safe in this circumstance because they didn't have the equipment they need. And in some cases, they were also getting injured. It's mind boggling. And it just makes me so sad because I love live music. I love going to concerts. I'm not a huge big festival person. I love going to concerts, and people should be able to go to concerts and enjoy being there. But it makes me so sad that people who went to go enjoy music of an artist that they enjoy are now having to deal with the underlying trauma that comes from that. It makes me so sad because it's avoidable. So they go on to argue or allege that eventually, due to defendant's active decision to let the show go on, I'm very curious as to whether Travis Scott knew what he knew, what he was told. We now know he was told before the show that there were concerns, what was in his ear, and why he didn't at least pause the music and say, y'all, back up 3 steps, turn on the house lives. Let's get the people here who need to be helped. Let's deal with this. And who made that decision? Did people not tell him, or did he ignore it? I want to know. I want to know. The tragedy was months, they say, if not years in the making, and then get into Travis Scott's social media presence and encouragement of his community. On May 5th, 2021, in response to fan complaints about the concert quickly selling out. No, Siri, I can't say that again. You always want to be on the live stream, Siri. Stop clout chasing my stream. Siri. On May 5th, in response to fan complaints about the concert quickly selling out, Travis Scott tweeted, "We still sneaking the wild ones in. It has been said on social that this is now down, but we will see." This recklessly encouraged fans to breach the barriers and otherwise actively encouraged a culture of violence. At the prior Astroworld, the same bum rushing phenomenon was well documented. Fans breached security barriers, trampled over one another to gain entry, resulting in injuries. This kind of behavior has long been encouraged by Travis Scott. Scott actively encourages his fans to rage at his concerts, and then there's footnotes to articles documenting him talking about that. All of this is going to come in. All of his statements about this is going to come in. All of the private, and we'll get to the prior instances, all of that is going to come in to show a conscious disregard. You knew this could happen. You didn't care, and then it happened. Therefore, you are responsible, and it won't fix it, but it will bring the monetary side of it and the civil liability side of it. Whether there will be a criminal side of it will be very interesting, given that we now know that the chief of police for Houston PD personally knows Travis Scott. I hope that with the FBI stepping in, they will take a look at that too, and this maybe will go out of local jurisdiction into federal jurisdiction. His express encouragement of violence has previously resulted in serious violence at numerous past concerts, and then they list them. 2015, he was arrested for disorderly conduct in Chicago. I believe that was at Lollapalooza, for inciting violence at a concert by encouraging fans to breach the barricades. At 2017, he was arrested for inciting a riot in Arkansas at a concert. In 2017, a fan was paralyzed at a Scott concert in New York City after a crowd incited by Scott pushed the fan off a balcony. So that creating an atmosphere and knowing that you create that atmosphere and knowing that you have a crowd that has had problems like this before is going to all go into that conscious disregard and that gross recklessness, into that gross negligence, and potentially into criminal recklessness. Because again, if he is the proximate cause of some of those deaths, will they be looking at an involuntary manslaughter case? I don't know. Could that happen? Yes, you can have people doing lawful acts that result in death charged with involuntary manslaughter. Will that happen here? I don't know. It's like, it depends on how much he knew and when they can prove how much he knew. But the police chief coming out saying that they sat down and talked to him is going to be very interesting to see. And I know that there is now calls for him to be removed from Coachella. I know he's already pulled out of a concert in Vegas. I know that Travis Scott has offered to pay the funeral expenses of those who lost their lives. But also I see reports on social media of a security guard who had worked a previous Travis Scott concert saying, "We were trying to keep people from rushing the stage," and he's cursing at the security guards and encouraging people to fight us. And there's only so many security guards, and the job is to keep people from getting hurt, but also to keep people off the stage to prevent the artist from getting hurt. And those accounts are chilling. So they go on to allege that the gross negligence caused the serious injuries to plaintiff. And then they go on to list out all the negligence of the defendant. I get into the rest of this lawsuit on this week's episode of The Emily Show. They list the damages very vaguely. All of that will come out more. They go into the monetary relief. They're seeking over $1 million. Like, you're on notice, pay us a lot of money. Notice to preserve evidence, which means don't delete your shit. and then the other notices required in this jurisdiction. I am sure since we've started talking, more lawsuits have been filed, and there will continue to be more. We haven't even gotten into the wrongful death lawsuits yet. Those will take a little more time to file. The helpful thing is if some of these firms are already getting evidence preserved, if you are a family, and this is not legal advice, this is just my thought. If you are a family who lost a loved one in this and are trying to figure out what to do next, there are numerous law firms that are now already representing plaintiffs that are already preserving evidence. It might make sense to just start there with the firms already involved in this. And there are a number of them, and that will not be hard information to find because they're already familiar with the facts, and you're not going to have to pay the firms will be able to kind of pool their resources for the plaintiffs that they have. So those are just my thoughts when people are trying to parse through what to do next. I don't know what that would be like. I mean, any loss is so jarring and so so tragic that trying to process through the day-to-day of even planning a funeral, of trying to talk to lawyers, of trying to deal with all of that, it is a lot for people. And to have to turn around and do that quickly to feel like the evidence might be gone would be so dehumanizing. And that just it's that part that always gets caught for me. And that is always really difficult. So I hope these families have the support that they need and the support around them to find the lawyers that do this. And this is what plaintiff law firms do. This is what they are good at. This is why they filed these cases so quickly, to preserve the evidence from this all being broken down. So it just hurts my heart. I will be updating this on social. I think that it will be very interesting to see how Travis Scott is held responsible civilly, maybe criminally, maybe not. We'll see, for the behavior of the crowd and for his behavior encouraging that. Because you're responsible, at least for the gross negligence in what I'm seeing. This is not going to end quickly. The Route 91 concert lawsuits wrapped up in about 2 years, and that was pretty quick. So I think this will take time, and I don't think the people in the crowd knew. Some knew, the ones that were chanting "Stop the show," the ones that were climbing up onto the cameraman's stand and saying, "People are dead and dying. Stop. What are you doing?" The cameraman didn't even get on his radio from the video clips that are available on social. All of that goes to the fact that people didn't help. I don't know if it would have changed the outcome for those that passed, but it could have changed the outcome for those that were trampled if the concert had stopped. So I think it's preventable. I think it's tragic. This shouldn't be happening at concerts, and hopefully it won't in the future. And hopefully some things will change. And I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. We're going to see more lawsuits, and I will continue covering them. So we're going to talk real quick about Britney, and then I'm going to get to questions. Got to get some more water first, though. We're down 1, by the way. If you want to know how much water I drink on a stream, we're down 1. We're leaning into number 2. So I know that's a heavy topic. We are going to move on to just a quick recap of Britney and then questions. And then I will probably pop back over onto Ricada's stream to watch the rest of what's going on in the Rittenhouse trial today. So let me timestamp Britney stuff and we will move on. All right. It's Britney. A lot has happened in the Britney case since the last time we checked in on the Britney case, which says a lot. Who's following the Britney case? Just what's a Britney emoji? Pink heart, pink heart, pink heart. Who's following the Britney case? Like leading up to Friday, this Friday at 1:30 in Los Angeles, Britney's attorney, Matthew Rosengart, is going to court to ask to terminate her conservatorship with ostensibly a termination plan based on the motion her father filed. Her dad filed the motion to terminate and then a status update asking it to be immediately terminated. The termination is one thing. The accountings still have to be done. I see all of you guys. Oh, the roses. Kaylin, you're so right. Next time, roses. Next time, roses. Next time, the roses. So her dad filed the motion to terminate. Rosengart said, let's put it over to the 12th and see if we can terminate. Nothing else has been filed to indicate that that's not going to happen. Everything else that's been filed is dealing with either the investigation into WTF is going on and to the recording in Britney's room, and with regard to payments, and with regard to Stan the Stan. Stan the Stan had a court hearing. Now, I don't know if anybody else is talking about Stan the Stan, but we have talked about it enough that I feel like I need to give you an update. Stan the Stan filed a motion to terminate the conservatorship, and that motion was set on November 4th. So some of you that follow this court docket are like, why is there a hearing set for November 4th? Well, it was set for Stan's motion. Petition, terminate conservatorship, filed on June 14th, 2021 by Stan Wontuck. The following parties are present for the proceeding. No appearances. So I don't think Stan Wontuck gave anybody notice, and Stan the Stan motion got dismissed. The court called the matter for hearing. The court finds that insufficient evidence has been provided to grant the matter on calendar. And based on the moving papers and consideration of all presented evidence, which is none, the petition to terminate is denied without prejudice. So Stan's motion is now cleared off of the calendar, and we will be able to deal with the motion filed by James Spears, because at the end of the day, when this gets granted, it will be James Spears's motion that gets granted. So that has been joined by Rosengart in agreement, but the motion was brought by James Spears. So, it'll be at least one thing that he did. I mean, the purpose and reason for it, we all have questions about, but if it gets granted, we'll be like, look this. And then can you imagine the PR? I'm the one who filed the motion to terminate. My motion got granted. Daddy loves you. Can you imagine? Oh, I can already hear it. And I'm like, bleh. Interestingly enough, as we're talking about James Spears's lawyer, former lawyer, Geraldine Weil, filed a request for special notice. Now, the request for special notice is just asking that when anything happens in court, that they are still in the notice list. So they still get sent the information from the court, even though they're no longer representing an interested party, which I thought was very, very interesting. What are they looking for, and what do they want to know? And what do they hope to know before everybody else knows? Because they'll get it first on the notice list. I thought that maybe indicated that they want to keep an eye on all of the civil depositions that are going on. That was just my supposition in all of this. So what else has been filed? There has been others. There were two stipulations with regard to payment so that Rosengart gets paid, and it's like, yay, Rosengart's getting paid. But then there's also all these reports with regard to Lou Taylor. So Lou is coming up twice today because Lou is trying to object to the depositions. Now, we know from the deposition we've seen filed in court with regard to James Spears that those were set to take place at the end of October and be audio and video recorded. But when it comes to Lou Taylor, we see that there are some objections according to reports. The first of those reports coming from People, and I'm going to pull that up on a different browser because when I try to pull People up on Google, it literally crashes my stream and makes me delayed. And all of you are like, your mouth is moving, but the words don't match, which, is not helpful. So let's pull this up coming at us from People. And then I'll pull up some of the actual documents that were shared on social. These are not available on the court website that I have seen yet. So as we talk about Lou Taylor, y'all, Nightbot and the mods know that we are a no name calling stream no matter how much we want to. We all know what you mean. Just know that that is a stream rule, even when we're talking about James Spears and Lou Taylor. We keep the rule for everybody, except for like fictional characters. We keep the rule for Carole Baskin. We keep the rule for Lou Taylor. So I appreciate all of you. We're all on the same page. We keep the Law Nerd chat a non-hostile place, even when we don't like people. And that's okay. That's not what I wanted to happen. We're all allowed to not like people. So thank you, chat, for being amazing. All right, let's talk about Britney Spears' former manager, Lou Taylor, who has filed a motion to block a request for full accounting over the last 13 years of her TriStar Sports and Entertainment Group. Who's shocked? Not me. Is anyone shocked? Is anyone shocked? Negative. Not shocked at all that Lou Taylor's like, but I know that Lucifer is her name on the street. I'm just sharing how we do it here in the Law Nerd chat. So thank you all. We're just going to go with Lou, and you all can make it short for whatever you need. So moving, people are like, what if I say it? What if I say it in Spanish? How do you say Lucifer in Spanish? I don't know. Let me know in the chat. I'm very curious. Taylor and her team, which includes the singer's former personal assistant, Robin Greenhill, who's also been subpoenaed for a deposition that is audio and video recorded, hit back at Spears' attorney, Matthew Rosengart, in court documents obtained by People. I wonder who sent them to. Oh, that's right. Y'all are like Diablo. Duh, Emily. It's hard for me to sometimes think contemporaneously well on stream. Very much appreciated. Some of you are like, no, El Diablo. Appreciate it. Don't tell Mr. Mancia, my Spanish teacher from high school. He will be mortified. Mr. Man, I'm sorry. It's hard to think contemporaneously on stream. We're talking about, I'm distracted by the fact that we're talking about Lou Taylor. So, it just is. We've avoided talking about Lou Taylor on this channel for so long. TriStar, which is, local here to Middle Tennessee. TriStar are arguing that they provided regular accounting during the 11 years, and neither Spears 39 nor her lawyer ever objected, which I understand their point. Look, hear me out. I understand the point. We'll get into the rest of it, but as the business manager, they have provided accountings to the court. But I don't think that means they can't get to the accountings. I think that they still have the right to access them. Those all should have been turned over in the files that they got from James Spears and his attorney, but I think they have the right to seek them from TriStar as well and other documents. So they are arguing, we've already done this shit, so we don't have to do it again. No one ever objected. Are we shocked that James Spears' lawyers and Britney's lawyers didn't object? It's part of why they're looking into James Spears. TriStar denied several accusations Spears has made, including that they bugged her bedroom and controlled her medications. Quote, no one at TriStar has ever had any control over Miss Spears' medical treatment, the motion reads. No one at TriStar has ever suggested monitoring Miss Spears' electronic communications. No one at TriStar has ever had the authority to approve security protocols. I just find it hard to believe. No one at TriStar is aware of any hidden electronic surveillance devices placed in Miss Spears' bedroom. Good, then just turn over all your information. It's fine. No one at TriStar has ever received any compensation related to Miss Spears or her estate that is not accurately reflected in the accountings filed or to be filed in this case. And they say to be filed because the accountings aren't done yet, and there is still the extensive 12th accounting that is much fought over. The motion did not address allegations that Spears was prohibited from going on vacation when she wanted to use her own money after reaching a spending limit. Taylor's team argued that they did not represent Spears at the time her conservatorship began in 2008, which is so interesting to me. So who decided and when and why? And is that why they became involved? Because there was a conservatorship. Maybe. I know that That Surprise Witness has a deep dive into Lou Taylor here on YouTube and has a very thorough and deep understanding of everything going on with Lou Taylor with regard to the Britney Spears conservatorship. I have not done a deep dive into it, but BJ, That Surprise Witness, has done a deep dive into it and has that on their channel. I've not had a chance to watch those yet, but I know that they've deep dived it. And then BJ from That Surprise Witness and Jake Yonsei have a deep dive series together. So the latest motion comes after Britney called out Taylor and her own mom, Lynn Spears, for prompting her father to establish the conservatorship. So at some point, and we know it was early on when this was going on with the 5150 holds, Lou Taylor seems to have gotten a hold of this family and guided them, spoke to the media for them, and then was rewarded, in my opinion, in view, by being appointed as the business manager. Rosengart has since questioned Jamie's motives for wanting to end the conservatorship after he requested all documents regarding communications, agreements, and payments between Jamie and TriStar back in August, and he's entitled to those things. So too bad, so sad. He's entitled to those. He might get them from Jamie and not from TriStar, but I understand why asking for both, because if anybody deleted anything, it's they're able to look at the both. So even though they shouldn't delete, it's not saying that they don't. Just because somebody tells you not to delete your shit doesn't mean anybody listens. Mr. Spears loves his daughter unconditionally. For 13 years, he has tried to do what's in her best interests. I just can't with the daddy loves her. And the petition to terminate is being held on November 12th, and I'm very excited about it. I hope you guys are too. Are you excited about it? I'm excited about it. So those are the objections. I'm going to pull up a few of the tweets that have some of this documentation in it. Again, I did not see these documents in the court file. I also did not ask these accounts where they got them. I always feel so weird saying, hey, where'd you get that? Can you just share? And I don't mind sharing with people. I just always feel weird asking. But anyway, Breathe Heavy has this over on their Twitter account, and you can go look at their Twitter account to find it. I'm just going to share that on the screen, and then you can find it over there. I think Noted Your Honor has also shared some of these, but there are lots of great Twitter accounts sharing this stuff. So Breathe Heavy said, here is the subpoena sent from Rosengart to Lou Taylor and TriStar. 4 more pages in the next tweet. And this is sent to Robin Greenhill and is for a deposition from October 28th. Ordered to produce the documents described. Deposition will be recorded by a stenographer, like a court reporter, and by audio tape and videotape. This videotape deposition is intended for possible use at trial under Code of Civil Procedure 2025.620. So that's just a notice. Continued on attachment 3. And then we've got the pictures continuing on with the subpoena and service of the subpoena. Definitions of instructions. We've gone over this with regard to the other one that we've seen with the one sent to James Spears. And it really, lawyers always define the thing that they're seeking so much that you can't say, I didn't know that when you said document, you also meant like email. And email's not a document because it's not like paper. So they define everything. They define writing, communication, what related means, all of it. If any documents are withheld from production on the basis of claim of attorney-client privilege or work product, you must set forth with specificity the privilege or work product claim and furnish a list. So email 1028, attorney-client privilege. You have to list the things that you're claiming privilege to. You can't just say they don't exist. A brief description of the nature of the subject matter, and they go on to, if you are not giving us stuff, what you have to say. And then let's see, that's the last one in this tweet. And then there's a subsequent tweet. The subsequent tweets have the tweet on the street has the request for production. All communications relating to electronic surveillance, monitoring, cloning, recording of the activity of Britney Jean Spears' telephone, including but not limited to surveillance, monitoring, cloning, iCloud mirroring, and recording of calls, emails, text messages, internet browser use or history, and social media use or direct messages on social media. All documents or record communications relating to a listening device placed in the bedroom of Britney All documents or communications regarding electronic surveillance of Britney Spears, including the decision to eavesdrop, record, or monitor any phone used by her, and to place listening devices in her home or bedroom. Records of all recordings referenced in requests for production numbers 1 through 3 above. All communications with black box security. Yes, please. Yes, please. We'd like to know. We'd like to know. I know you guys are like code red. I don't think this is fuckery yet. I don't. It's just a subpoena for documents, like a normal subpoena for documents. I don't even think objecting to it is fuckery, because objecting to it is just like standard operating procedure. Now, Lynn Spears wanting to get paid for her lawyers, that's full fuckery. I don't know. I don't think we're at DEF CON WTF. I think objecting to subpoenas are pretty regular practice, and these subpoenas are things that we know. So that's why I didn't change the lights red. We're not there. We're not there yet. We might get there, but we're not there yet. For me. Just because Lou Taylor's involved doesn't. Dr. Riley's like, are they amber? Amber might be the color of my energy. There might be fuckery afoot. We want DEF CON for Lou. Like, Lou's always fuckery. I get it. But it's people don't get DEF CON red status yet. But I'll take it under advisement. Communications with black box security, including Edan. So they want everything related to that. All agreements, including any business management agreements purportedly entered into between TriStar and Britney, because that was done by her dad. Any documents relating to any agreements between you and conservator, any correspondence relating to any agreement by you to represent the interests of Britney Jean Spears, relating to your compensation from the estate, relating to any modification to the compensation called for by any agreement between you and the conservator. So these are all of the communications with regard to anything that they were doing with James Spears, because he was the conservator at the time, relating to payments or approvals made by the estate for legal representation of Lou Taylor or Robin Greenhill, which is so interesting because they're in one of the filings ages ago, like over a year ago. And I think it was actually with relation to the Breathe Heavy website, but I might be wrong on that. There was a cease and desist regarding Lou Taylor because a website was allegedly defaming her and using her name. And it looks like the estate was paying for the legal representation to deal with Lou Taylor and a potential defamation issue and a potential website using her name. But the conservatorship was paying for the protection or the legal representation for the protection of Lou Taylor's rights, which makes literally no sense. It's on the Britney Spears playlist. And I was like, why is the estate of Britney paying for legal work that benefits just Lou Taylor? It's the same with the media matters for James Spears. This has nothing to do with the conservatorship. And just because it comes, maybe the harassment of Lou Taylor or the threats or the defamation or whatever they're alleging comes because of the engagement with the conservatorship, doesn't mean the conservatorship should pay for it. And that is very interesting. So that's my feelings on that. So it's very interesting that they're asking for that, because that's in the motions. And I agree, it is total BS. But that one peek into the cease and desist, I was like, wait. Why are you paying for lawyers from the conservatorship estate to write this cease and desist? God, that was probably like a year ago, actually, when we talked about that. All documents relating to accounting services rendered by you or on your behalf related to the conservatee, establishing a conservatorship for Britney, any documents relating to that from 2008, anything that relate to communication between Mr. Spears in any capacity, not as conservator, all correspondence, whether on paper, text message, relating to Britney Spears' current or past medications, And then they go on to ask for any information relating to Britney's hospitalizations, correspondence related to Britney's stay in non-hospital residential facilities, including rehab, documents reflecting time you spent working on behalf of the conservatorship estate of Britney Jean Spears for each year from the inception of your retention to the present day, which should all be able to be pulled up. Documents that refer or relate to any benefits you or your representatives have received as a result of your representation, documents that relate to the monetary compensation you have received as a result of your representation of the conservatorship state. So looking for any other deals or side deals. What else? All organizational corporate formations for the benefit of Britney. All organization and corporate formations received or held for the conservatorship estate in which you have held or hold an officer, director, managing member, general partner, any corporate entities, essentially. All correspondence relating to whether Britney Jean Spears wanted or did not wish to work a secondary residency in Las Vegas. Anything relating to conservatees, whether Britney wanted to work again for so long as James Spears was her conservator. So they went all correspondence. Like, what were the emails back and forth? What were the emails that were like, hey, Britney won't work as long as James is the conservator? Like, who was talking? What did you know? How did you know? Any correspondence relating to the monitoring efforts of conservative Britney Spears or her associates, fans, or person of interest by Black Box Security or any other security firms or individuals, including but not limited to surveillance, monitoring, cloning, iCloud mirroring, recording of calls, emails, text messages, etc. So this is coming directly from the New York Times piece, where the whistleblower there said, hey, they were monitoring the crowd. They were monitoring the Free Britney movement. They were monitoring particular individuals. We want all your correspondence relating to that too, which is very, very interesting. So it is normal course that these things get objected to and ruled on by the court after the 12th. I'm very much hoping the court terminates the conservatorship, but even if the court terminates the conservatorship on the 12th, it's not done yet. And that is a very important thing to remember. We still have the accountings. There are still hearings set for December. There's still that fucking motion for Lynn's attorneys to get paid. There is still stuff that is going to happen, and I'm going to continue covering. I'm too invested. I need the end of the story. I need the end of the story. I need the end of the story. That's where I'm at. So we're not going to we're not going to stop the coverage on the 12th. We're going to take a minute to celebrate, but then we're not going to stop. So anyway, all right. It looks like there is still new information coming out on Astroworld, and I will update that. I will probably do an Astroworld update this week. Maybe on Friday before we get into Britney stuff, especially if we're waiting, maybe another day this week, because it looks like the security and emergency medical response plan is out. And I want to take a look at that to go over it, because I want to evaluate that as to the potential liability. So that will happen. Sorry, this is what happens when I'm like trying to back out of Twitter, because I pulled up stuff on Twitter and then my brain is like, "Ooh, what else? What else? What else?" What else is happening? I see you guys asking about when it binged. This binged over to 167 while I was on stream with Nick Rekieta yesterday, I think. But we are also close to binging again. So if you're still watching the stream, I mean, there's almost over 4,000 of us here. We maxed out, I think, at 5,000 today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the stream. Like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you appreciate what we're doing here. I appreciate it. We would like to get, of course, we're already demonetized. What did I say? YouTube, which means this video is not. The problem is when they yellow your videos, they do not get pushed the same way. And people don't see them. So we have to look, just because we're talking about Astroworld doesn't mean we're talking about things in a crass way. YouTube, we have class here. So go ahead and like and subscribe. That's what I was going to tell you. We're very close to actually binging again. So if a handful of you subscribe, we will click over to 168 and we'll see if we get towards my goal of getting to 200K by the beginning of the year. Mayor, thank you. Love your channel. Just discovered you. I'm rambling. It's really time to get to questions. Because you have questions, I have questions, we have questions. We should do those. We should do those things. I feel like I've been talking forever. I'm going to take some more water. You have questions, I have questions, we have questions. I'm going to get to the super chats as well. Always a thank you for supporting the channel. Always a thank you for supporting with super chats. Never obligated, always appreciated. So thank you. Elizabeth, happy birthday. If you're part of the text crew birthday wishes haven't gone out yet, but they will go out later. So if you're not part of the text crew, there's still a time to go to textemily.com, join the text crew if you're in North America, and I will text you for your birthday. That will happen later today because yay, later today. Somebody in the chat just passed the bar today. Law nerds. Give a big law nerd round of a hand to Magic Jungle, who passed the bar exam. First time viewing live and first time viewing as an official lawyer, not future lawyer, lawyer. You have passed the bar. Congratulations, Magic Jungle Esquire. That is a big moment. I think I've shared the story of the night I lost my mind when I passed the bar exam. It was, I think it's on a Law Nerd members only live stream. Oh, the more I talk, y'all, the more my voice is just like, what is even happening? Did you see? And I brought mints. I brought mints to help. Did you see SLC Housewives on Sunday? Crazy episode. It was, but next week's going to be crazier. And then next week I'm going to do a I have thoughts members only podcast episode of that episode because next week's going to have all the things. Next week is going to have the searching of the house, the arrest of Jen Shaw, the going to court that day, all of it. All of it. So I'm sorry if you can hear these rambling around in my mouth, but they will help clear up my my nose. We're just gonna. I need to figure out why when I get dehydrated, my nose gets stuffy. Joanne said, "Can the judge order Lou to hand over everything Britney is asking for?" Yes. Well, yes, they can be like, you have to go to the deposition, and your objections are overruled. You can make them for the record. Okay, let me pull up the super chat so I can say a big thank you. And you guys, we are very close to 168. So thank you. Trying to pull up supers on the back end is hard. What is happening with tornado warnings in Washington state? Kitsap County in Washington is currently under tornado warning, shelter in place. Washington never gets tornadoes. This is nuts. That is nuts. Here's what I've learned as a Tennessean. Take a helmet, go to the innermost section of your house if you can't go underground. No windows, interior room with no windows, with a door that closes. There's apps on your phone that will give you alerts, and there is probably some kind of a YouTube channel that will be giving you a little bit more information. Here we follow extreme weather, though I don't know if Washington is set up for that. So that is quite a lot. So stay safe, Washington. That is wild. So law nerds, stay safe. Just look, West Coast tornadoes is a very strange thing to me. So stay safe. You're saying not the helmet. Yes, the helmet. Well, at least that's the advice we've been given. I'm not a weather expert. I'm just a nerd. So we were told bike helmets can help. Martha said he tainted the name of a beloved theme park that many Houstonians grew up with. He should be sued for that. I mean, I can absolutely understand the desire to sue people just because they piss you off. Because I get it. You've desecrated the memory. Mr. Unicorn, do people just have helmets lying around? Well, we have bike helmets. So we use our bike helmets. And when we know we have like a tornado go bag. So when we know that there is tornado watch in effect. We pull everything into where we shelter in place in our house, and that includes our hand cranked radio, some water, and the rest of our tornado-y supplies. I like having a heads up, where in California, when it starts shaking, that's your heads up. And by that point, there's little to do about it. Um, Sarah said, hot toddy tip. Thank you. Emily, is there a possibility to not cover Stan because he's a registered? Allegedly. Well, look, Stan the Stan is done. His motion's been denied. So, and I also did not look into his past. I pull up the court documents. So that is where I'm at. And if it's alleged and we don't know, then we're just gonna we're just gonna move it on. And it's done anyway. So done. Captain We the Barmy. Emily, do a vote. Who would hire you? Who would you hire? Who would hire you to leave messages for their voicemail? I have no idea, but that would be funny. I think that's one of the things Cameo is used for, right? To leave voicemail messages. I think that would be funny, but I don't call people anymore because I'm busy driving carpool. No, I don't even listen to people's voicemail. Like by the third ring, if you haven't picked up, I just hang up and text you. And most of the time I just text people first anyway. Dottie Marie said, have the people who busted through the gates been identified and charged? No, not to what I've seen. Obviously, there wouldn't be as many pushing up front if they hadn't broken in. So Dottie Marie, that's interesting. And I addressed some of this on the podcast episode. The fire department said that venue had about 50,000 people there, but could hold up to 200,000 people. So I don't know if the rushing the gates is a capacity issue so much as it is people weren't properly searched and it created an atmosphere of recklessness. But there were a number of people arrested. The majority of the people arrested were arrested for trespassing because they broke in without a ticket. So some of them were, I don't have those numbers right in front of me, and they will be covered in that one. Mickey Holmes said, do we get to talk about Attorney Tom? I adore him. We got to talk about Attorney Tom a little bit. I enjoy Attorney Tom as well. We met at Vid Summit and had very nice chats. He's a funny dude. I like his sense of humor. And yeah, but he's going to be busy. I imagine his content is going to take a backseat for the minute while he's in the middle of doing all of this stuff. So or the Knight said, do you anticipate a lawsuit from Live Nation towards Travis Scott to put the liability on him? It depends on what their agreements say as to whether there's an indemnity clause there. And that's really what indemnity is for. Like, hey, if I get sued, but it's because you fucked up, you get sued, not me. I don't know what Live Nation's agreement was with him to host this. So it depends. It's possible. It's possible that the insurance companies also say, look, we're not covering this out of insurance because he incited this and they didn't handle it properly. So us as insurers aren't going to cover it. This comes out of somebody else's pocket, but not ours. So there will be stuff behind the scenes with indemnification and with insurance. That is a fantastic question. Thank you. Matt Bond, hello. Spiffy, I hope you would cover this. It happened in Australia at Big Day Out Festival where people were crushed against the barriers and people died. It's just I can't think of much worse than that fear and helpless combination where you are terrified, but you like our responses is fight or flight. What happens when you're in fight or flight and you can't fight or flee because you are trapped? I can't imagine a worse feeling. Jay Thompson said there is precedent for this concert tragedy, 1979. The only difference is it was entering the concert facility. Was that the Who concert in 79? Where there was like a rush of people trying to get in? Was it the Who? Because I was just reading about this. I was looking at other concert tragedies when I was researching the podcast. And it was that the sound check was going on, but people thought the concert was starting and the lines have been very long to get in and they couldn't get in and like rush the gates and the stampede kind of trampled people. Nicole said, for the Whiskey Fund, thank you. Amanda H. said, did you see Slave Princess's documentary? And what do you think of it regarding Lou Taylor? I have not seen it. I will go look for it. I have not gone down the Lou Taylor rabbit hole because we have been there has been so much else to cover. Natasha said, I have jury duty this week and I pray I don't have to go in on Friday. That's totally fair, unless you're in LA and you get to be in the courthouse downtown. Christopher D said, time for red lights. I think I addressed that. And then, did we get to this one? Fatal Exception said, I might have missed this part, but are there lawsuits against those at Astroworld who started the pushing and shoving that started it all? Surely they hold some liability. The difference is whether there's a duty of care owed. So you generally don't owe a duty of care. If you see somebody, I'm going to try to make an example that's not a horrific example. If you are out for a walk and you see somebody crash on their bike, you are under no obligation in the US, not legal advice. You're not under an obligation to go pick them up and help them. You don't have to be a good Samaritan. If you are a good Samaritan, there's some laws protecting you if a person's injured and you rendering aid, but there have been lawsuits of people rendering aid and injuring someone and then getting sued for trying to help and making it worse. But with that, you are not obligated for a duty of care, just like a concert goer is not obligated to pick someone up they see go down in a pit and help them. But the concert goers, the promoters, the people who are charging you to be there, selling you a ticket, granting you access, they owe a duty of care to keep the venue safe and to provide a safe environment and to meet the obligations of keeping a safe environment with the information they have. These lawsuits are saying that duty of care was breached because they were negligent and sometimes grossly negligent in the information they had, and then the actions that they took didn't match, and that's why disaster happened. So information that they had, obligation, steps that they took, those things are out of alignment, hence the lawsuits. I hope that that makes sense and I explained that well. Christopher D, speaking of Cameo, have you seen Kim Richards' Cameo videos? No, but I will have to go online and look because that'll be interesting. Question, how do you think the Rittenhouse case would have gone with Pierce? I don't know if Pierce has tried cases. I mean, I have not heard anything. Personal opinion, I have not heard anything good about John Pierce as a lawyer. And I think the defense team, though I've had questions about why they're doing things, they seem to have a strategy that seems to be working for them and have done a very good job on cross-examination. So Casey said, when you go back to Ricada Law, be sure to ask about hashtag Grambo. Oh, just something happened while I was on stream. I will. Question, will they start making laws to give concert goers in the pit more safety? They should have cameras or something. I don't know what they will do from this. And I don't know, because I've been to lots of different types of shows and not seen anything like this. And so some will say it's not the show, that it's not live music that's the problem, it's the musician. Some will say it was the planning. With good planning, this can happen. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So Red Cross has a tornado app, very loud, very good. Little kitty cat, that's great advice. Thank you. Steve said, I fear Lou Taylor will doctor the documents to make her look innocent. I wonder, is there a way to ascertain a document is doctored? Oh, there are lots of ways, especially with digital, especially if the documents are coming from multiple sources, and some of them have already been filed in court. So, Misopinionated Emily, I mentioned you to Andy Cohen. Knows OTC triple antibiotic. I need to do that. Misopinionated, I got sent a clip of a call-in to Andy Cohen talking about my channel. I didn't know it was you. Thanks. It comes full circle. I'm glad I saw your comment. And again, thank you, Andy Cohen. We're here. We know we're talking all the things. I don't want to say we know all the things. We're talking all the things. Question, since TriStar is hired by C-Ship, if Lou asserts attorney-client privileges, will that make Jamie's attorney? So Lou will still have attorney-client privilege with Lou's lawyers and TriStar's lawyers, but not privilege between their conversations with TriStar's conversations with Jamie or TriStar's conversations with Jamie's lawyer. Those aren't privileged. Conversations between Lou Taylor, TriStar, and their own legal counsel is different. Hopefully that helped. I work at Live Nation. I'm sorry. I'm sure it's got to be frustration. It's got to be frustration. So, question: what happens if Rosengart does not receive the documents before the 12th? He's not going to receive the documents before the 12th. This is going to be ongoing, but it doesn't affect whether or not the conservatorship can be terminated on the 12th. That's going to be ongoing issues. The conservatorship ending does not end the court's liability. We've been talking about too much today. The court's jurisdiction over the conservatorship. This conservatorship, though it can end, it's not done because the accountings have to be wrapped up. So before the court no longer has jurisdiction over it, the accountings have to be done. Hope that made sense. Laura S. asked, were drugs mentioned more? I have not seen credible mention outside of what the police chief said. I have not seen anything else about it until I have a lot more information on it. I'm only sticking to what we've heard just from that one police chief. We don't have, it's so hard when people pass. It's always hard to go just shift into the law side of it, but shifting into the law side of it, which can feel very kind of more cold and linear, the autopsies aren't done yet. And until those are done, and if those are any information from those is publicly released, then we will have more information. So I'm kind of waiting. That's all going to take time. They have so much going on that's just going to take time. So that's it. The harsh reality is like my dad said it was the Who concert. I thought that was right. So if Live Nation security has had an issue, then coming up with that or evidence coming up with words are hard at the end of the stream. Evidence with relation to that will come up in the civil lawsuits because they will also have a foreseeable and known and avoidable risk there. It's like, no, they know that security's been an issue and they still didn't do this. What's very interesting is that in the press conference, they talked about having much more security than they had in 2019, and this still happened. So more tornado advice, charge your phones. Yes, and have a backup battery as well. Power can go out. I'm going to get to a few more questions and then I have got to go. Ashley, Vincent, thank you so much. Thank you. How does one exactly sue an entire audience? Well, they're definitely not going to do that. I think only the people with the duty of care. Hopefully I'm not too far behind. Demonetization fund, Chrissy, thank you. It really is the reach. It's never the finances that bother me of it. And yes, I'm a full-time content creator. It all works out in the wash. It's the reach of the thing that bothers me. So when people don't have their bells on, when people don't have their, when people get unsubscribed from the channel, which does happen just by YouTube, then it's like, you just don't see that they're live. And that can just slow the roll on the channel. So I'm going to get to a few more questions and then we're going to roll. And the mods are like, okay. And it's like, yeah, I got to go get my car. I'm going to hop to Ricada's stream and then go get my car. Question. There's a person in chat saying they work for Live Nation. They are saying, blame us failing on Live Nation security. Your thoughts? Live Nation's being sued. If Live Nation didn't bring in enough security and should have, then the liability will sort out in the wash. But it's hard to comment on things that as I don't see them contemporaneously because there's always context. That will be out on audio later today and it will be out on YouTube soon. Kathy said, as an RN, I'm obligated. There are some limited scopes where you owe a duty of care, but the people who owe a duty of care know they owe a duty of care. So for the rest of the general public. So thank you for pointing that out, Kathy. Yes, there is definitely there are definitely some that owe a duty of care. It's just different. Let's see. Question. How can Rittenhouse use self-defense when per the state law, he shouldn't have had a gun in the first place? I don't necessarily agree with that interpretation of the state law because of the type of gun that was used. There is quite a lot of legal debate about whether the gun he had fell under the restrictions, but that's going to be a more of a legal hair splitting with regard to that. I don't think he'll be convicted of improperly having or illegally having a gun, but you are still allowed to use self-defense even if a gun's not registered, even if a weapon's not registered. The potentiality for a weapon or a gun to not be properly possessed is separate from the determination with regard to self-defense. The determination with legally with regard to self-defense comes from the actions in the moment that are happening, and it doesn't change because of the weapon. It changes if somebody's doing something to instigate. So if they are instigating someone to attack them and then shoot them and claim self-defense, that's different than if they are spontaneously attacked and things like that. So it's factually based. And for me, when I looked at the videos, the facts really truly are on Rittenhouse's side. In this case, they just are. But Tiffany H, I really appreciate you asking an earnest question, because then we can have a discussion about it. And that's the most helpful part for people to understand. I think there's been a lot of misinformation about the facts in the Rittenhouse case, and that always bothers me when the facts don't come out clearly, because the facts are against the prosecution in this case. Question: when are we going to talk about H3 versus Triller? Another day. When it's in the title. We will get back to Triller H3. I need to go look and see if the court has ruled on anything yet. I think the replies are due. There's 3 phases to the motions that are going on: the motion, the opposition, and then the reply. I think the replies are due, and then hopefully there should be a court hearing coming up on the anti-slap motion that I thought was quite good. So let's see. Are you going to cover the Danny Masterson case? I covered the first part of it. As it gets closer to trial, I may. I don't know yet. Question: did you hear the cop say he felt something? I heard. I should finish the question before my brain literally jumps into start answering. Did you hear the cop say he felt something jab him in the neck while trying to help at the concert? What I heard was the press conference with the police chief from Houston PD say that medical personnel said that a security guard said that they felt a prick on their neck before they went unconscious, that they were then treated with an anti-narcotic, that they were revived, and then there were physical markings indicated that there had been a prick or something happening to the neck. That is the only report of it I've seen. I know that that comes multiple hand, but that's what I've seen reported. And that's the only report. That the rest of the reports have been very speculative. When it's an official press conference coming from the head of the police, it doesn't mean they can't be wrong. We absolutely saw Northport police get things wrong when the police, was it the police chief that sat there and was like, yeah, we know exactly where Brian Laundrie is? False. We definitely see police get things wrong, but that's the report I've heard that has been the most credible. AB says, I'm catching my very first live at the very end. Hello. Just wanted to say, as a long-term member of the replay crew, love you. Keep it up, girl. Thank you. Hopefully the time change helped with that. Oh, and a reminder. This is why we're not going to get to other stuff this week, because this week is our members only live stream on Thursday. So if you are a member either on the YouTube channel or on Patreon, you will get the information for the members only live stream. The members only live stream are their own format. That will be this Thursday. They're always the second Thursday of the month. That members only is they can be a little shadier, but that's kind of a deep dive into all the stories we're getting into, answering a lot of your questions, having a chit chat, often having a drink, and just saying, okay, this is what we're doing. So that will be on Thursday, and those tend to run about 2 hours as well. Everything tends to run about 2 hours in my world. Question: what happened to your blanket? I've been using it on the couch and I keep forgetting to bring it back in here. But I think that Fred is on the couch with my blanket instead of being in the chair, because this chair without the blanket on it has like a gap in the back. And so I don't think he likes it as much without the blanket. So I need to bring it back. We also have a Lawnard blanket going up in the store that I'll come and put down here. So, parents are going out, lost power in Linwood, Washington. Okay, well, Washington, be safe. Question: how much is membership? The lowest tier on The channel and I believe on Patreon are both, I think, $2.99. So they are pretty chill. Um, Rachel said, I understand that they have to prove it in a court of law, but it's so frustrating. And it seems like the prosecution isn't even trying. I'm frustrated with the whole case. I appreciate the frustration. I know a lot of people are frustrated with this case. The prosecution is trying. The prosecution has bad facts, and the facts don't change. There's no amount of lawyering that will get around the facts that they have. But I'm a former prosecutor. I wouldn't have brought this case. I would have looked at these facts and I would not have filed this case. That's just my personal opinion on it. The facts are that this is self-defense, and the facts have been that since the beginning. So I understand the frustration because people lost their lives, and that is a fact that is hard to wrap your head around, but there are justifiable homicides, and I think that that's what will happen at the end of this case. So I saw one more. Fred needs his own blanket. He does. He does need his own blanket. Question: what are your thoughts on Tana Mojo saying that Brian Laundrie did a Joel Goldberg? I didn't see that. I can't imagine why she would say that. But misinformation is never helpful. I don't know if Tana has a foundation in understanding how dental ID records work, but I also don't know if she said that in a tongue-in-cheek way or said that in a factual way, because with Tana, I think most things are tongue-in-cheek. So, all right, y'all. Robin Marie said winds just knocked out our internet. Washington, stay safe. Stay safe. Stay safe. Due to the way the Rittenhouse case is unfolding, do you think the laws should change? I don't know what laws you would change, but in this case, I don't know what laws would be shifted. I think there's some intentional ways they wrote their open carry laws to fit their state's need, but I don't see this as a failing of the law. I've definitely seen cases where I'm like, this is a failing of the law, but I don't see this as a failing of the law. The self-defense laws are not too dissimilar state over state. So I don't see anything where these would change. So I don't know. If I see something where the law has allowed something to happen and I'm like, this is the loophole we're dealing with, I am happy to look at it and I'm happy to point it out. All right, mods. It is so good to see you all in the chat. A huge thank you to our mods for modding our always busy chats. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone in the state of Washington, stay safe. I'm thinking of you. I will hop back over to Rakata's stream. Let me pull it up so I can give you a link. I'll be over there in a few minutes. I've got to go do, human things for a moment. I'm going to try to pull this up without the sound, which I just failed at twice. So let me share the stream so you guys can hop over there and support Nick Rakata. Nick makes the jokes. It's his channel. He does the things, but having a lawyerly panel look at things, I think is very helpful. So it's your choice if the channel and the panel is for you or not. It's a very extensive panel with a lot of legal experience and a lot of dudes. So I'm going to go over there and join Legal Bites to represent the law ladies in the world and see what's going on with the defense case. But just know their chat's different than our chat. It is a different channel. It is what it is. So that is the disclaimer. I do not co-sign 90% of the things Rakata says, and you will see my face going. But I enjoy the commentary from all different perspectives, and I think that's how we learn when we talk about all the different perspectives. And yes, the chat is not modded the way our chat is modded. So just know that walking in, that the chat is not modded the way our chat is modded. I feel that every creator has the right to create how they want to create their community, what they want to create in their community. And I think that the varying opinions of the different lawyers brings a lot of understanding to what's happening. I run my channel differently. That is okay. And I get it, but that is why I like hopping on panels and getting to have a conversation with other lawyers as we're looking at the defense case, because A, I learned something, and B, I think it brings a lot of information. So there is over 34,000 people on that stream. And so the chat will probably just be wild, but the mainstream media has run certain takes on this case, and I have found the Rekieta stream to be very much this is what this witness just said, this is the impact, this is what is happening, this is this. That's different than the way he does commentary in the evening, which is a whole different thing, and is, res ipsa loquitur on that. That is and caveat emptor. That is buyer beware over on Racket's show. But that is because different creators do things differently. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the mods. Thank you for our stream just being a million years long now, because that's what we do. That's what we do. The stream is here. I'll link it one more time. It is on Rekieta Law, Rekieta Law. If you just look at the current live streams, you should see it. It's probably one of the top streams right now, so you'll find it. But I give that buyer beware so that you guys aren't like, oh my god, this is not the same as a Law Nerd stream. It is not. The internet is the internet. I appreciate you. Thank you for being a Law Nerd. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, friends. Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just text Emily.com. If you want to join the channel, lawnerdsunite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube.